After your spiritual awakening, something strange happens. All the fire, ambition, and motivation that once drove you evaporates. Goals you chased relentlessly now feel empty. Achievements that once filled you with pride now seem meaningless. Plans you had for your future suddenly appear hollow and uninspired. You find yourself stuck. Not depressed exactly, but empty, indifferent, unmotivated. You wonder if something's wrong with you. You ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why can't I care anymore? This isn't laziness or weakness. This is something deeper, something Carl Jung described clearly. It's the profound disillusionment that follows true spiritual awakening. Jung knew the psyche better than most, and he understood that spiritual awakening isn't just blissful realization or peaceful enlightenment. It's also a radical psychological restructuring, an inner earthquake powerful enough to topple your entire identity. And when your identity collapses, your motivation collapses with it. Because your old motivation wasn't rooted in authentic purpose. It was rooted in fear, validation, and conditioning. You chased goals society promised would make you happy. You followed a script your family wrote for you. You pursued validation to soothe your insecurity. But awakening shatters those illusions completely. Suddenly, you see through the game. You see the hollowness of ambition rooted in ego. You see clearly how achievements that once defined you were never truly yours. This clarity is both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because it frees you from external validation. Terrifying because it leaves you without direction, without a map, without the familiar drive of your ego. The ego thrives on external rewards. Praise, money, status, admiration. When your ego collapses, these external rewards lose their power. You can't motivate yourself with the promise of something you no longer truly value. And so you sit in this strange, uncomfortable place, wanting nothing, driven by nothing, motivated by nothing. You might think something has gone terribly wrong, but Jung would say something has gone terribly right. Because the emptiness you feel isn't a problem to fix. It's a portal to your authentic self. This emptiness is your soul stripping away all the false motivation you've relied upon, forcing you to confront who you really are beneath the facade. It feels like apathy, but it's actually awakening's greatest gift. The gift of clarity. You see now that much of your past motivation was rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. You chased success because you were terrified of being ordinary. You chased approval because you believed deep down you were unlovable. You chased achievement because you thought it would finally validate your existence. But awakening shows you clearly that no amount of external validation can ever satisfy your soul. And once you've realized this, you can't pretend anymore. You can't force yourself to care about goals that no longer resonate. You can't fake enthusiasm for things that never truly mattered. You can't lie to yourself, your soul simply won't allow it. This stage feels empty, because it is empty. Empty of illusions, empty of ego-driven motivation, empty of everything false you've carried until now. Jung called this emptiness the necessary liminal space. The psychological in-between stage where your old self has died, but your new self has not yet fully emerged. In this liminal space, motivation can't survive, because motivation needs clarity, purpose, and direction. And you currently have none of these. You have uncertainty, doubt, confusion. You have questions without answers, feelings without explanations. This liminality feels deeply uncomfortable, like floating in a vast ocean without sight of land. You wonder if you'll ever find your way back to solid ground, to passion, to purpose. But Jung assured us that this emptiness is temporary. It's a crucial phase of your transformation. It's the soul's invitation to release everything you once believed you were, everything you once chased for the wrong reasons. It's the silence before you discover your true voice, the darkness before your authentic path is illuminated. Your motivation hasn't vanished forever. It's simply shifting. It's transitioning from external validation to internal alignment, from societal expectation to soulful authenticity. But first, you must sit with this discomfort. You must surrender to the emptiness completely. You must let go of the need to rush through this stage, to find new motivation quickly, to rebuild your ego from old patterns. Because if you rush, you'll recreate the same illusions you just escaped. Your soul knows this. That's why it's holding you here, in stillness, in liminality. Your soul wants you to rediscover motivation differently. From within, from purpose, from authenticity, not from fear. But to find that deeper motivation, you must first lose all the false ones. That's why awakening feels empty. Not because something's wrong, but because something profoundly right is happening beneath the surface. Your motivation will return, but not in the form you recognize. It will return as a quiet, steady clarity, not frantic ambition. It will return as soulful purpose, not societal validation. It will return as alignment, not achievement. This new motivation will feel different, less intense but more fulfilling, less exciting but more meaningful, less dramatic but more sustainable. You will no longer chase goals to feel worthy. You'll pursue purpose from a sense of inner worth already established. You'll no longer seek validation to feel loved. You'll follow your passion because it aligns deeply with who you authentically are. But before you can embody this new motivation, you must fully surrender to the emptiness of your awakening. You must trust that this liminal space, uncomfortable, uncertain, and empty, is exactly where you're meant to be. Because only from this emptiness can your true self, your true purpose, your true motivation emerge. You're not losing motivation, you're reclaiming your soul. In this space of emptiness, you face a critical juncture. Will you trust this process, or will you rush back to your old comforts, your old illusions? Carl Jung emphasized that true transformation never occurs without a period of profound uncertainty. He called this state the night sea journey, a mythological descent into darkness, a passage through confusion and chaos toward deep psychic renewal. During this stage, motivation doesn't just disappear, it's actively stripped away. Because motivation rooted in ego simply cannot survive the intensity of genuine awakening. So you find yourself drifting in the unknown, feeling lost and purposeless. But beneath this confusion, something powerful is happening. Your entire value system is being rewritten. Before awakening, your goals and motivations were dictated by external expectations. You chased dreams society sold you: wealth, status, comfort, recognition. But now, you see the emptiness behind these goals. You realize how much you sacrificed, your truth, your authenticity, your joy, for achievements that ultimately never fulfilled you. And as these illusions collapse, your old motivations collapse with them. This is not failure, it's liberation. But initially, it feels like devastation, because suddenly, you no longer have clear goals or direction. Your ambitions feel shallow and meaningless. You struggle to find reasons to care, to act, to move forward. You might even feel guilty or ashamed, wondering why you can't force yourself to be productive like you used to. But this struggle is part of awakening's deeper purpose, to clear space for motivations that come directly from your soul, rather than from societal conditioning. This is where Jung's insights are crucial. He described a phenomenon called enantiodromia, a psychological law stating that when something reaches an extreme, it transforms into its opposite. When your ego-driven ambition reaches its limit, it collapses entirely, transforming into complete apathy and loss of motivation. This swing from extreme ambition to total emptiness can feel overwhelming, disorienting, and frightening. But Jung saw this emptiness as fertile ground, the necessary stage of psychological death before authentic rebirth can occur. It's a radical shift from ego-based motivation to soul-based alignment. This shift requires a complete loss of direction initially, because you can't simply transfer your old patterns onto new values. You must dismantle them entirely and rebuild your motivation from the ground up. But this rebuilding doesn't happen through effort or striving. It happens through surrender, through allowing, through listening deeply to your soul. Jung believed the soul communicates through subtle means: dreams, intuition, synchronicities. To reconnect with authentic motivation, you must learn to listen to these subtle whispers rather than external demands or pressures. And to hear these whispers, you must first embrace stillness and emptiness fully. This is why your motivation feels lost, because your soul is demanding you pause, reflect, and reassess your entire life. You might resist this at first. You might try to force motivation, set artificial goals, push yourself into action. But the soul will push back even harder, deepening your sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction until you finally surrender. Only when you fully embrace this emptiness can real clarity begin to emerge. You start seeing the difference between what your ego wants and what your soul truly needs. You become attuned to authentic desires. Desires not rooted in fear or insecurity, but in genuine curiosity, joy, and alignment. But authentic motivation isn't loud or dramatic. It doesn't feel like frantic excitement or anxious ambition. Instead, it arises quietly, naturally, almost effortlessly. It feels like gentle clarity, intuitive knowing, inner peace. You no longer chase goals compulsively. Instead, you feel drawn to paths that genuinely resonate with your inner truth. This deeper motivation isn't about impressing others, proving your worth, or filling an internal void. It's about expressing who you truly are in the world. But before you can embody this authenticity, you must navigate through deep psychological uncertainty. Jung warned clearly, many people never survive this passage because they misunderstand it. They mistake this crucial liminal space for permanent failure or psychological breakdown. But in truth, this breakdown is actually the psyche's way of breaking through to new levels of awareness and authenticity. Your emptiness is not the end. It's the beginning of a profound psychological rebirth. You are shedding false motivations, false identities, false goals. Everything you relied upon, but which never fulfilled you. In this emptiness, you are forced inward, toward self-reflection, toward inner honesty. You start to question everything. What do I genuinely care about? What truly brings me joy? What deeply aligns with my authentic self? These questions aren't easy, because they demand radical honesty. You can't hide behind societal expectations or superficial validation anymore. You must confront your truth directly, even if that truth initially feels painful or frightening. And as you honestly explore these questions, something shifts within you. Your emptiness gradually transforms into curiosity. Curiosity becomes your first authentic motivation. Not ambition, not achievement, just pure, genuine curiosity about who you are beneath your conditioning. This curiosity leads you gently toward activities and goals that genuinely resonate with your soul. Activities done not for approval or success, but simply because they align deeply with who you are. Slowly, a new kind of motivation emerges. Motivation rooted in authenticity, alignment, and soulful purpose. You realize motivation doesn't have to feel frantic or compulsive to be real. True motivation often feels calm, clear, and effortless. But to arrive at this authentic motivation, you must fully allow the emptiness to do its work. You must trust this period of uncertainty and confusion completely. You must let go of trying to control your process and instead surrender to the deeper wisdom of your soul. Because your soul isn't interested in temporary success or shallow achievement. It seeks lasting authenticity, deep alignment, and genuine joy. This is the profound wisdom Jung offered us. Loss of motivation after awakening isn't failure. It's a sacred initiation into authentic living. You must lose your false motivation entirely before you can discover your true purpose. You must endure psychological uncertainty before you find lasting clarity. You must navigate emptiness before you experience genuine fulfillment. You're not broken or lost, you're exactly where you need to be. In the sacred space of emptiness, where your soul finally has room to reveal itself fully. Eventually, after navigating through deep uncertainty, something extraordinary begins to crystallize within you. You realize that your loss of motivation was never a punishment. It was a profound psychological invitation. Your soul was calling you away from superficial ambitions, away from societal expectations, away from everything you thought defined your worth. It wasn't trying to break you, it was trying to awaken you. Carl Jung described this shift as a psychological rebirth, a profound reorientation of your entire identity around the authentic self. This rebirth doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually, patiently, organically, often after a long, uncomfortable liminal stage. But as you emerge from the emptiness, you notice something remarkable. You no longer chase goals compulsively. You no longer feel driven by external validation or approval. You no longer measure your worth by societal expectations or achievements. Instead, motivation arises naturally from deep inner alignment, a quiet sense of clarity, purpose, and authenticity. This new motivation doesn't feel frantic or anxious. It feels steady, grounded, deeply nourishing. It emerges from your soul, not your ego. It arises from internal alignment, not external pressures. You find yourself quietly drawn to paths that genuinely fulfill you. Paths aligned deeply with your authentic values, desires, and strengths. You no longer need others' approval or validation to feel motivated. You no longer chase success desperately to feel worthy or loved. Instead, you pursue what genuinely resonates with your soul, what fulfills you internally, regardless of external recognition. You realize your loss of motivation was never failure. It was the psyche's way of clearing space for genuine, authentic motivation to arise. Your new motivation might feel subtle, gentle, intuitive, not dramatic or explosive. But it's far more sustainable, deeply nourishing, and authentically fulfilling. You start creating from a place of genuine joy rather than fear of failure. You start working from deep purpose rather than ego validation. You start living from authentic alignment rather than societal conditioning. This is the profound wisdom Jung offered us. True motivation isn't frantic or compulsive. It arises naturally from deep inner alignment, authenticity, and soulful purpose. And to embody this true motivation, you must first lose your false motivations entirely. Your spiritual awakening was never about achieving permanent bliss or escaping life's struggles. It was about transforming your relationship to those struggles entirely. It was about learning to navigate uncertainty consciously. Embrace emptiness fully. Trust your soul's wisdom implicitly. It was about reclaiming your true self beneath societal conditioning, fear, and illusion. And as you embody this authentic self more fully, your motivation transforms profoundly. It arises naturally, gently, intuitively, guided by curiosity, joy, and deep inner alignment. You no longer strive compulsively for external achievements. You create authentically from inner truth and soulful alignment. You no longer measure your worth by productivity or ambition. You understand your worth as inherent, unconditional, and sacred. Your motivation is no longer rooted in fear, insecurity, or validation. It emerges naturally from self-acceptance, self-awareness, and self-love. This shift changes everything profoundly. Your work becomes deeply meaningful rather than merely productive. Your relationships become nourishing rather than transactional. Your life becomes fulfilling rather than exhausting. And yet, none of this emerged easily or quickly. You had to endure profound psychological uncertainty first. The uncomfortable liminal space between old identities and new authenticity. You had to surrender fully to the emptiness your soul demanded, trusting deeply in your own inner wisdom, even when everything felt uncertain. But now you see clearly, this uncertainty was never punishment. It was initiation. Your soul was calling you inward, away from superficial validation, toward deep self-awareness. Your lack of motivation was never failure. It was your psyche's way of guiding you toward genuine authenticity and soulful alignment. And now, as you embody this authenticity fully, you realize, true motivation isn't about forcing yourself to achieve goals. It's about aligning deeply with your authentic self, your soul's purpose, your inner truth. It's about creating from genuine joy, curiosity, and alignment, not fear, validation, or insecurity. It's about trusting your own inner wisdom, intuition, and clarity, not external expectations or societal pressures. This is the profound gift Jung offered us. Loss of motivation, after awakening, isn't a psychological flaw. It's a sacred initiation into genuine authenticity and soulful alignment. And now, as you embrace this authenticity fully, you embody motivation differently, quietly, intuitively, naturally, rooted deeply in your soul's truth, your authentic self, your genuine purpose. Your awakening wasn't the loss of motivation. It was the rediscovery of your soul. You didn't fail or break down. You transformed profoundly, courageously, authentically. And in this transformation, you reclaimed your true self. Not perfect or enlightened, but whole, integrated, and deeply authentic. You reclaimed motivation, not frantic or anxious, but gentle, intuitive, deeply nourishing. You reclaimed your life, not externally validated, but internally fulfilled. You reclaimed your soul, not distant or abstract, but profoundly present, authentic, aligned. This is the sacred truth Jung revealed. Spiritual awakening isn't about escaping life's struggles. It's about transforming your relationship to them entirely. It's about embracing emptiness fully, trusting uncertainty deeply, navigating darkness consciously. It's about reclaiming motivation, not externally driven, but internally aligned. And now, as you embody this truth fully, your life transforms profoundly, authentically, beautifully. You've navigated emptiness courageously, surrendered fully to uncertainty, trusted deeply in your own inner wisdom. And in doing so, you've reclaimed your authentic self, whole, integrated, profoundly alive. This is the sacred journey Jung offered us, not easy or comfortable, but profoundly transformative, deeply authentic, genuinely fulfilling. You've walked this journey courageously, authentically, consciously. And now, as you embody your true self fully, you reclaim motivation genuinely, profoundly, soulfully. You didn't lose motivation. You reclaimed your soul's purpose, your authentic self, your genuine alignment. And in reclaiming this authenticity fully, you reclaimed life itself, not externally validated, but deeply, profoundly, authentically alive. Subscribe to the Awakened Compass and join our membership to unlock the full journey within.